I started at a full service salon, but I didn't like doing women's hair. So I started going more towards a barber shop setup, and that's where I'm at now. I work at Floyd's Barbershop. I've been there for a year now. I worked at 3 different shops. Blade, which I've learned so much there, and also Sport Clips. It's a very good starting point for you, for everyone. Whoever just got out of school, Sport Clips and Supercuts, it's a great stepping stone for you guys. I'm going to do a fade on him. You want a 0 fade or
Yeah.
0? Okay. So who here does men's haircuts? Okay. A lot of you guys. Alright. So first, Sanic strip, you guys already know. Sanitation. I don't have my stuff for my hands, but my hands are clean, Nick. I promise. Your cape. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 4 different machines that I cut with. Broke it.
I love that one.
This is my Andy's Masters. You don't need a guard to be into the zeros. You just close it all the way, and there's a 000. I broke the teeth on this one, so I try not to use it right now. I'm trying to fix it. These are the Oster's Titans. For this ones, you need separate guards for all of them. Okay. Each guard is about $25 to $30. So this is my most expensive machine, but it's one of my favorite ones. Without this, I cannot fade. You go from 5-0, which is bald, almost with a, like if you're using a razor, okay? And to the 3, and then after that, if I need to blend more, I'll use my plastic guards. These are my liners. I had them modified. You can have them modified. It's a lot easier when you work with kids because the vibration of the machine makes them nervous when you touch their ear. So, and there's a lot of people that their ears don't bend. So it's very hard to go around. But if I had a modified, I don't know if you're supposed to or not, but I did. So it's easier to go around the ear with this one.
You took them somewhere to get modified?
I have a guy who comes in to the shop and he sharpens my tools and he cut them for me. He's gonna charge me $10.
Do you like using your blending shears a lot?
Yes. But you have to be careful because when you start, like I won't be able to do that to Nick. When you start blending up here and you start doing more of a like a comb down, if you go in too far, you'll start seeing some hairs are sticking out. So you have to make sure that you do it very lightly on the outside so it's nicely blended. Then if you need to go in further in, then you do that. Here, especially because Nick has like an undercut up here. You see he goes all the way up into a 1 or 2 or whatever he wants to do. I always like to grab the hair because I don't want to cut more than what I have to. Okay. And I always have all kinds of colors because you don't want to put a pink one on a guy that don't really like it.
Nick doesn't.
And also wetting the hair before you do that helps to keep it more manageable around it. You guys let me know if you need me to move or turn around. Put your hair like I cut the bottom.
You cut the bottom, but it's something weird with that. But it was like months ago.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so he was a 0 fade, and we're gonna do a 0 into probably like a 2 or even a 1.5 maybe. So it's nice and tight and clean. There's, people call it different things. A taper, a fade, a blend. Taper, when you taper the back, you would only do just this part right here and then fade into it, right? So it's nice 0 into like a 1 here and then fade into it. You could also do the sideburns, or you could just fade it up from the bottom all the way up. I'm gonna start with the 0, the 5-0. And I always do 5 here, and then I'll take it all the way to a 1, and then I go back in between and cut little bits at a time so I can start blending, give myself room. So if I'm starting from a 5 here, this is going to be a 2. Then I could probably do a 5 here, and I'll take it all the way to the 2, and in between I'll go in between to blend. So I'm not touching anything on the top anymore at one point.
When you say 5, do you mean like a half?
5-0. No, these are this is skin. It will be skin, straight into the skin. So the half is you'll see a little bit more of a stubble on it.
So 5, but 5 is 0.
5 is 5 zeros is more like a razor.
Oh, 5 0.
5 zeros. So these are really low.
Oh,
Yeah. So you see it has nothing on it. And always the position on your machine, you should always grab it and make sure you scoop it. Because a lot of people grab it and they go like this. So that's going to hurt your hand eventually. So always scoop out. You can see. Whenever you're cutting, you can do it this way where you're going back down here into the bone right here and then coming back up. There's a lot of people that like it straight and then you go all the way up straight. I always like to do this, and then it always gives me some room just in case I need to blend a little bit. But that's your preference on how you're cutting and not how if they're asking you specific, then you do it the way they're asking you. And please listen to your client. Don't think that that's what you like is going to look good on them or is what they like, because they will leave your chair mad. Nick, you color your hair. Don't spot it. And if you keep your tools nicely lubricated, you're always going to be able to cut nicely and your machine won't get stuck. And then I'm going to go in between afterwards. So size 2. You take it there and I could blend the rest after. Can everyone see? A lot of people like to keep their clients in the same spot. My clients will probably be dizzy by the end of their haircut because I do spin them around. I try to stay in the same spot myself for my posture. Then you have your clients that put their foot on the trash cans and they hold themselves, so you're like, can't move you. Okay, so you see you already have, look at that. So I already have my kind of a guide of how far up am I going to go. This always gives you room to play. When you start fading, you're gonna start seeing that you're gonna be chasing lines all the time. So you need to learn to adjust your clippers as you go, and that you're not just using your clippers set where they're at. So make sure you learn to play with this a lot. Okay? So you open it and you close it, or you leave it halfway, or however you want to, but learn to look at lines, which is a little bigger than the 1. Because this is a 5 and this is a 2, I could take it all the way up to here, okay? Above this temple, okay? And never dig in. Because if you dig, you start leaving lines too, right? So up, so it goes, I don't know if you can see the angle of this. So you leave a little gap, so you push it up. And don't be afraid to fold their ears. They're not going to break. Nick has a dip back here. A lot of clients have little dips. You have to learn to go in there. Okay? So even though I'm going all the way up here, I can't dig into that dip because then when you're done with the haircut, you'll have a hole right there. So you have to go in with the corner of your machine and blend it. Okay? Okay, let me show you. I don't know if you guys could see, and then into my tube, and then in between, and then after that, I'll start grabbing the other ones. Okay. So right now I'm grabbing the 0A, which is the half. And again, this is the 1A, so I'm not gonna go higher than this with this one, so I could blend. If you need to, you can, but you want to make sure you stay in that spot. And I don't know if you guys could see, but you can see lines. See a line here, a line here, a line here, and a line here, right? You're going to remove those lines in a little bit. There's people that do it backwards, where they start on the top, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they work themselves down. To me, this is a lot easier. I've done it the other way too, but my haircut takes longer doing that. And the longer you take on your haircut, the less money you make, because the less time you have with somebody else on your chair. Okay, so now I'm going with the 3-0, and this will probably be the last one that I use to get rid of the bottom line. And then after that, I use the masters in between, and that's my adjustable, so I could use it to blend more. This is the 000. This is the 000. And this one I'm going to use to get rid of the bottom line. And again, very lightly, and it's not even digging in, it's just going up. In some parts of people's heads, you'll be able to get rid of the line with no problem, and then on the other side, you're gonna have to play with it and blend it. And of course, since he colored his hair, the haircut looks not all that perfect because it's skin stained. Do you have color remover? Yes. Whenever I'm doing a 0 fade, we charge for our shampoos at my shop. But for my sake and to make sure that my client is happy and they don't come back in 2 days saying that they have a line, I always wash them. I'd rather pump their shampoo and make sure that they leave happy and that they're able to see their skin nicely clean and that they can see that there's no lines. On the sides right here in the corners where it dips, I'll use the corner of the machine to blend around the ear. So this one is adjustable, so I can play with it. Okay? So you see this line right here? You see how it's going away?
Oh.
And then you play with it, you open it a little bit more. You go up a little higher. Close it a little, get rid of the other line. And also don't be afraid to use the corners. Because sometimes you don't need your whole, this is not flat, right? This head is not flat, so you don't want to use the whole machine and then start making lines where you don't need them. You guys have any questions about shops?
Yeah, how easy is it for you to get your blades maintenance? Does your guy just come in when you call them, or do you have to wait a day or two?
My guy comes right away. Like I called him today and he could come in, but right now this week he was on vacation, so he couldn't come in to do my guards. But usually he comes in as soon as I call him.
What does he do?
It's not cheap. See his zip right here, you have to be careful. Every time somebody sits in your chair, at least I do it. So a lot of people that have moles on their heads, you don't want to nick them, you don't want to cut them, you don't want to pull them. So whenever they sit in a chair, I always kind of run my hands throughout their whole head. Kind of like a little bit of massage, and I'll be like, oh yeah, so what are we doing today? And, you know, like I'll kind of touch hard, and if I feel something, I don't go over it. Don't. 1.5. The most. When I was going to school, I started volunteering at a convalescent home. Remember? I wanted to cut hair and I didn't have enough hands-on training here because there were so many of us that there wasn't always enough clients for all of us. So I started volunteering at a convalescent home and I would go and cut their hair, and it was the best training I ever had because they would fall asleep on me. And you learn to cut people's heads with them moving, so children are very easy for me. Again, I'm going to go back to my masters and I'm going to use my 0. Okay? So I see a line down here. Close it. And if I don't see that it's taking it out, I'll take it off and I'll open it all the way. And I get rid of my line. And you can hear it when it cuts, so you know that you're getting rid of something. But always go back and check and make sure that you're not cutting or you're not going higher.
And you're stretching the skin.
Yeah, I always pull the skin up. It makes it easier for also for the hair to kind of like lift up a little. So, but then you have some people's skin that is so stretchy that you will mess up your hair. I still volunteer at the convalescent home. I go once a month still. I used to do it once a week. and I would do up to 10 haircuts in 4 or 5 hours because they have no hair. So, and I learned from, you know, from cutting their hair, and you give them attention and they love it because they don't have a lot of people that come and visit them. So they call me the guardian angel. So I love it when they come. I always get food from them. They bring me cookies, and there's this lady that whenever I go, she always writes me a check. The first time I'm like, no, I'm not taking your money. And this lady, the coordinator, goes, please take her money. She will never get a haircut by you again. So, because you'll be insulting her. I was like, okay. So I took her money, but I felt really guilty. Because they don't make a lot. Now I'm going to go up higher. And I'm going to start blending the top. Again, I don't want to touch anything from his top hair. So always make sure you separate it. Pull it down. And you'll learn not to cut cowlicks too short, because otherwise they'll have a flower in their head. Okay? So now this is the 2 3/4. I'm going to go up higher. Okay? You see how it's already blending? Okay? I'll do the other side first. This side. So here, you do want to go in a little bit, unless you want. Here you do want to go in a little bit, unless you want to have a comb down. So like when people have this a little bit combed down and then fade it out, okay? But here we're gonna go up higher, like more of an undercut, even though it's still faded. And at an angle, so that way you don't dig in to your other haircut and you don't start cutting the length that he has on top.
So when you do it kind of towards the back or to the front, not back?
To however the hair is growing. So if your hair is growing this way, I go like this, right? Because his hair is growing this way, so I go the way the hair is. But these, I've always had a problem, even though I love them, I've always had a problem with them. They don't, the way the blade is set on them, they get stuck really easy with hair. Even though I clean my machines every day, they'll just won't cut and they'll just pull your hair. So you gotta make sure you maintain them really well. Looks like you washed this out of your. Looks like you washed this out of your head more than the other. Because this one is stained. You see how it gives me a shadow here? It's from the dye. I've already checked it a whole bunch of times and it's still there, so it's not my haircut. You still have a line here. Always go back in between. So my zero is not doing anything anymore. So now I'm gonna put my 1 and adjust it. So it could go all the way up to a 1.5. Okay. So you could actually take it all the way up with this one. And you hear it cut. Do you guys all like to talk and talk to your clients, or do you like to talk, just like practice on each other? Like whenever you guys are doing each other's hairs, you guys are talking to each other, right? Yeah, because then they feel more comfortable in your chair, they like you, they come back, your tips are better. Men are more generous tippers than women. Especially to women. And every time a guy sits on my chair, it's like, oh, a girl barber, right? Or a girl who cuts guys' hair. Like, what is she gonna know? And then I'm like, well, I know how guys look. I like the way I like guys to look, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna do a better job. You wanna make sure that he looks really nice. My biggest tip at the shop has been $200 tip.
Wow. For a haircut?
For a haircut. For a 30-minute haircut that didn't even take me all these steps. All I did was a scissor cut. And you talk to your client, you take care of them, you know. Can I trim your ear hair? You know, you gotta do a little bit, you know, your eyebrows look a little bushy, can I trim those, you know. I mean, I don't tell you like that, but, you know.
Here regular?
Would you mind if I trim your eyebrows? Would you mind if I trim your ears? Some men don't like their ears trimmed, they like that little bush in there, so just leave it alone. Yeah. I've done it. I've taken the liberty of going in there without asking, and they're like, no, and then they move, and you're like, but, yeah. You know, so if you take care of your clients, they're going to come back to you. There's a gentleman that I cut once a week. I don't do much to him. He's bald. He's really bald. He has no hair. And I do a half into a 1.5, and I do a 1 on top so the fuzz doesn't look like he's literally bald. I don't do nothing. And I cut his hair once a week. And I get $20 every single time he sits on my chair. So, customer service. You have to be really nice to the people that you work for, because you're working for them. Cowlicks are a big thing, so be careful when you start cutting people with cowlicks, because they will not come back to you if you mess up.
Which direction would we do it?
It's however the hair goes. So if you have, I have a client who has 2 up here. So I comb them wherever they want to go, and then you see how he has this tiny bit here, like it goes in circle. Right there, you see it? Push it all the way forward, and then bring it down, and that's where I cut whatever. So you want to leave the hair laying down wherever he wants to do. He's not going to do whatever you want. So here, I'll do the number 4, which I think is not going to take much. 1. You see how this hair up here is still sticking out? Don't be afraid to turn your machine this way. See that? Sorry. I'm going to use the number 3. the more detail you are, the better your client notices that you like make sure that his haircut is super perfect. After I do the line here, which side do you want your hard part? Right here? Yeah.
When you're investing in tools, how do you know which tools to like to start with?
When we had the demos here, I bought every single thing that came in. I have all the wands. I have all the waxes, everything. And there's, I mean, I still use my wands, but not the wax. All the stuff is sitting in my closet. If you are going to get more into barbering, I always suggest like those are the basics. You know, you could have, and pretty much that's, I think that's all there is. You just have different kinds and different newer ones. Like this one's the limited edition, and it's only because it's more of a flat black. You know, it has the black blade. But I still like this one. This one, for some reason, every time I use it, it pulls the hair. And I've gotten it adjusted so many times and it still does the same thing. But these are my basic for me. And this, I think, is the best. You know, the Osters. And these, you could mix the Osters with the Andis guards. You see? This is an Oster, this is an Andis clipper. So you could use them on both. The guards are always tighter than the plastic ones. So if they tell you I want a 1 and you're cutting with metal and they're used to getting their haircut with a 1 with the plastic one, that's more of a 1.5 on these. So if you cut them with a 1 and you don't even ask, you just go for it, they're gonna be upset afterwards. They're gonna be short. Now I'm only using the corner to get rid of the edges. Sorry, can you turn around? Right here, and then and don't be afraid to go back if you have to. I mean, I always, every time I'm cutting hair up here, I'm like, oh, I see a line here. Always go back, even if they feel like, well, she was done there, why is she going back? It's better that you go back and you clean it up than you let them leave and they leave with lines. Use your mirrors all the time, so that way you know if you see anything that you're not supposed to leave. Okay, you guys see this right here, this little dip with the corner. And I always start with a bigger guard, so if I use the 1 here, a 0, I would use the 1 to go in there, or even a smaller one. You're here cutting with the corners. Gets up and looks in the mirror, and he'll check every single thing, and he'll sit back down, and we do this every week. All right. Am I cutting some off the top?
Okay, on the top.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Be a little bit short. I'm going to cut more here than I am here. Right? You could also, so it doesn't look so straight, you could point cut in between. Okay? Point cutting will take a lot of the sharpness on your tip on your thing, so you have to get it done. So here's your guide, right? And follow it right there. Okay. trying to show you guys the way I would learn here, because that way you guys understand more. Just a little bit. Learn your products too. He doesn't need anything off the top. Learn your products because that way you could teach your clients how to take care of their hair better. You have... A lot of people like to get lined up. I like to line them up, but don't ever go up too high here. Just clean up the edges. Okay? So I'm going to do the hard part right now. Because I'm not a barber, I can't use my blade, to clean up the hard part afterwards. So you have to make sure that your machine is really sharp and it cleans really nice. Don't be afraid to pull their head to wherever you want to, so that way you can see exactly where your line's at. Okay? So again, separate your hair really well. Bring this down and start cutting. Be careful how sharp your machine is. I always follow the line of the curve of the hair, because if your machine is too tight, you will cut them while you're doing this, because you're actually kind of digging in. Don't do it so wide, because then it looks ugly.
You're doing it all around?
Not all the way around. You don't want to do it to here.
Okay, I see.
When you start seeing where the line wasn't so much even, because you have some hairs that are like sticking out on the top from his longer hair, right? You see a lot. You see? I don't know if you can see that. Okay. So all that comes into you being detailed and clean. So you're gonna make sure that all these hairs that are sticking out, you're gonna clean them up afterwards. You're not gonna leave those there. So they graduate this year. This is the class right after mine.
Is it?
Yeah, because I've only been gone 2 years, so they started maybe the following semester.
You guys started when? August 2016.
Two semesters. See how he has a lot of hairs here? You don't want those. And all this is what the client sees. Oh, she's paying attention that I'm not going to have any of that extra hairs, because they hate it. Because when they're putting gel, they're putting product, it's not staying.
So Floyd's is a franchise?
It is. It's owned by the like 3 brothers, but it's French.
Franchise. It's not corporate. And can you move up?
Yes. I have an interview on Wednesday for assistant manager position.
I think you could be an educator for that.
I want to eventually. It's a good company to work for. I already liked it before. We got burglarized this year, beginning of the year, and they stole all of our toolboxes. So I have over $1,500 invested in my tools, and I was freaking out. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to work for I don't know how long. Okay, so here, let me go back. So I cleaned up this side right as much as I could. Make sure there's no hair sticking out. Now I also want to do it on the other side. Even though he only pulls his hair this way, what if he decides to do it the opposite way? Even though I'm not doing a hard part, I still want to clean up and make sure that there's no hairs that are sticking out on their own. Which is not much. And we got burglarized on a Thursday. On a Friday, they called me in. They're like, you need to come and check if your toolbox is there. My toolbox was completely gone. All of my stuff was gone. And the district manager was told by the owner to put up a credit card at the Cosmo House? No, at the Salon Centrix, and they let us go and buy all of our stuff.
Wow, that's nice.
They didn't wait for them to get paid by the insurance. They took care of us.
How did they get in the shop?
They broke through the back door.
You never got caught?
There was construction going on Ventura Boulevard, so there was no electricity anywhere. That is my name. So Isis Blue. And my name is definitely a conversation starter. So I have no problem talking to my clients about anything and educating them on how my name is not just a terrorist group name. It's also the name of the Egyptian goddess Isis.
So Isis, I'm gonna put a guest artist I, but then in the video it's gonna be Isis. Otherwise they'll block my video.
Yes, that's fine. No, just put me as Isis Blue. I-C-E-S.
I see ice.
Ice.
Ice blue.
Ice.
ISIS.
With an S. I-C-E-S Blue. Okay. So, even though we went with a 0 here at the bottom, you still want to clean up the sideburn areas, okay? So, I don't know if Nick wants me to line it up here. I always line it up slightly, but not everybody likes to get lined up. So I just clean it up as much as I can without making lines. And then here on the sides. Here I use the corner. A lot of shops won't let you use the peanut. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think it's because of sanitation. The way the peanut is a lot harder to keep clean and maintain.
It has a sponge inside.
Yeah.
I think when you remove the top, there's a little sponge, and sponge collects all the stuff.
So how to sanitize that?
I always remove my sponge.
You could remove it?
But I don't know if you should.
I've
but I do.
removed mine, yeah. But it
Yeah,
just
it's just sticky stuff.
it vibrates more a little bit without the sponge because sponge makes it softer, the noise.
But
But
if you think about it, that part doesn't touch the client anyway.
No. But the hairs go in.
But it stays. Yeah, you can't.
Have you ever used like one of those special clippers that are just for making designs? Like they're really tiny.
You could use
The
this.
tattoo one?
Yeah.
Just the corners.
Do you use a lot of design stuff?
I do stars and a lightning bolt. Only because it's just a Z. So kids come in, they're like, I want a lightning bolt. I could do it. So don't be afraid. You could always make it look cute.
Do you charge extra for design?
You can. We had a guy that worked in our shop, and he is amazing. His name is Keontae. You can look him up on Instagram. As much as you can, and then you put it under the chin, and you bring in your cape in and you hold it with the cape, but you still put it on. There's a lot of people that don't like to use the sanding strips. I like to use the sanding strips because your cape touches everybody's neck, and it's gross to put in. My last client came in all sweaty, and then I'm gonna put it on their next one. You know, you can always refuse a client in any salon. You don't, if you feel like you can't touch that person's hair because they're really dirty or like it's moldy. People don't wash their hair. Men can be kind of gross.
Have you ever
Yes.
refused? Okay.
Yes. I try not to because I've worked with, like at the convalescent home, you know, they're a little old, they have built up around their ear. So you kind of, I've learned to deal with that. But I had a client that he came in and be like, oh, what do you have in your hair? Nothing. Dude, his hair was plastered and he had nothing. So I told him, I said, well, do you mind if I wash your hair? He's like, yeah, I don't want you to wash my hair. I said, well, I have to wash your hair if you want me to cut it because your hair is really dirty. I mean, there's no other way to say it. You know, and I mean, a lot of the times we nick ourselves and we have cuts in our hands, so you don't want to touch somebody's really grossed out hair and then
Get infected.
you have your exactly in your hands. So now I'm gonna clean up with this one because I cannot use a razor. This is my lifesaver to shave. Okay. So again, since Nick's hair is dyed, his scalp is messed up. I'm so mad at you. So this, I could go over the line that I did earlier and it will mark it better, okay?
Yeah, I just want to tell all the viewers that his hair was dyed. He's a blonde, and there are some stains in his hair. So everybody knows that it's not the haircut, it's the stain. It's not Isis's fault. Like that stain right there, it's the dye.
Can you just point to it?
Okay, so this is towards the end. I take off the sanding strips. Don't drop your sanding strips on the floor, ladies, okay? It goes in the trash can. So, I always grab a towel to clean up the neckline, and I'll go over my line so I can make my line nice and clean.
What is that called?
This is my shaver. You have to make sure you check these daily, especially when you're gonna be doing all around shave with this, because I can't shave, so I gotta use this one. That your foil does not break. If your foils have cuts in it, you will cut them with this. Okay, this will go through and you will cut them. So make sure that there's no cuts on your foil. This is the best blow dryer ever that I've had.
What brand is it?
The Bionic. It's not cheap. It's $250. It's $250. Maybe this is the older model, so it might be cheaper now. Yeah, I can't hear you. What was the question? Okay, so this is fiber. It's a matte product. I use it a lot on people that are like losing their hair. Because, but you want matte. This is the only thing I have. Sorry. The reason why is because it gives it a thicker look to it. So it's very hard to work with, so you have to make sure you mix it really well. When the hair is this dry, it's hard to put on, so I always mist it in between after. You see how there's a little bit of water in here, so I mix it. And always put it everywhere so that way you can get it, right? You still have product in your hand. A little bit of water in your hand. Mix it. Don't leave white spots. Make sure you rub it off.
What's the name?
This is Fiber by
Crew.
American Crew. At the end of the haircut, I like to use a clean comb so you don't put back whatever you had in there. So. What else? Any questions? I think it looks pretty good. Sorry.